Imagine Hollywood's biggest stars in the same courtroom. Drama, secrets, even crime, live. What happens when Beyoncé's icon Kanye West shows up at Diddy's federal trafficking trial? You're about to witness the shocking intersection of fame, loyalty, and scandal. He built an empire from the ground up. Hip-hop royalty, billion-dollar deals, Grammy wins, champagne in VIP rooms. But now all of it, every piece of Sean Diddy Combs' legacy, is hanging by a thread. The man once crowned the king of bad boy records, whose fashion line strutted across global runways and whose beats defined an era, is now sitting in a cold federal courtroom, not as a guest, not as a mogul, but as a defendant in one of the most disturbing celebrity trials in modern history. He's not facing a slap-on-the-wrist PR scandal. Diddy is up against 5 devastating federal charges: trafficking, racketeering, witness intimidation, drug distribution, and the chilling organization of so-called freak-offs, alleged parties involving coercion, control, and exploitation of young women. If found guilty, the sentence isn't symbolic. This isn't reputation damage. We're talking life behind bars. Flash montage, courtroom sketches, flashing paparazzi lights, Cassie's face in anguish, blurred photos from inside Diddy's mansion. This trial isn't just about one man's downfall. It's a full-blown reckoning, a storm dragging in the rich, the famous, the powerful, and the deeply complicit. But just when you thought it couldn't get more surreal, he walks in. Pause. Sound drop. Cut to Kanye West stepping out of a black SUV, surrounded by chaos. Not as a witness, not as a defendant, as an ally. Yes, Kanye West, or as he now insists, Ye, entered the storm, not just with words, but in person, at the courthouse, in all white, head held high, defying critics, standing beside Diddy in what many saw as a jaw-dropping show of loyalty or denial. Why is Ye stepping into this scandal? What's he risking, and what is he protecting? Fade to black. Then cut to a collage of headlines. Kanye backs Diddy. Freak-off allegations shake Hollywood. Diddy faces life in prison. This isn't just celebrity gossip. This is power, corruption, betrayal, and the battle between fame and justice. And we're about to walk you through every chilling detail. To understand the scale of this downfall, you need to understand the scale of his rise. Sean Combs wasn't just a music executive. He was the architect of a cultural revolution. He didn't walk into fame. He kicked down the door. In the early 90s, a young intern at Uptown Records quickly transformed into the visionary behind artists like the notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige, and Faith Evans. His instinct for talent was unmatched. By the mid-2000s, he wasn't just a behind-the-scenes player. He was the main event. Diddy became a brand. Bad Boy Records, Sean John clothing, Ciroc vodka, MTV's Making the Band. He was everywhere, chart-topping, trend-setting, and outshining the very stars he signed. But behind the flashbulbs, a darker power dynamic may have been festering, because with every layer of fame came more control, more silence, more people willing to look the other way. And now, the accusations are brutal. Multiple women, former partners, collaborators, and anonymous witnesses have painted a picture of a man who allegedly used his power to trap and manipulate. They claim that Diddy orchestrated multi-day parties laced with hard drugs, alcohol, and sex work, nicknamed freak-offs. Not playful, not consensual, but deliberately filmed, surveilled, and fueled by coercion. Some women describe being emotionally broken down before being pulled into these events. Others allege blackmail, violence, and threats were used to silence them. One source said, "He controlled the party. He controlled the people. He controlled everything." What makes these allegations even more haunting is how long they may have been happening, some stretching back over 2 decades. That means while Diddy was collecting BET awards and partnering with global fashion brands, a secret underworld may have been unfolding just beneath the surface. And yet, so many stayed silent. Why? Because power protects power. Because in Hollywood, the higher you rise, the harder it is for people to believe you could fall. And now, the fall has begun. When you build a fortress of power, the only thing strong enough to shake it is the truth. And the truth started to crack through the courtroom walls with Cassie Ventura, Diddy's longtime partner, former artist, muse, and, for years, a silent figure in the background of his empire. For the public, she was the beautiful face behind the scenes, but in the courtroom, she became the first wave of reckoning. Cassie testified across 4 harrowing days, painting a picture that blurred love and fear, devotion and control. She described a relationship that began with charm and promise and spiraled into surveillance, psychological warfare, and hundreds of freak-offs, multi-day drug-fueled parties, where participation wasn't just expected, it was demanded. She claimed she was isolated, watched, gaslit. Every moment of pleasure twisted into a performance, one she allegedly couldn't opt out of. Behind the fame, she said, lived a world built on coercion and silence. Then came Jane, a pseudonym, a mystery to the public, but a thunderclap in court. She wasn't famous, she wasn't expected, and that made her testimony even more powerful. Over the course of 4 excruciating days, Jane recounted experiences that pulled the curtain back even further. She said she was groomed, introduced to Diddy by mutual contacts, and slowly submerged into his orbit. Then came the drugs, the parties, the sex, sometimes filmed, sometimes arranged, always controlled. At one point in her testimony, Jane, through tears, confessed, "I still love him." That line silenced the entire courtroom. Because it wasn't just shocking, it was real. This wasn't a tabloid moment. This was a human being, visibly torn between trauma and affection, caught in the gravitational pull of someone she once trusted, someone she says took everything. And in one of the most haunting moments so far, Jane finished her testimony by doing something that stunned the room. She hugged both the prosecution and the defense, a gesture that said everything. This wasn't black and white. It wasn't hero and villain. It was a victim still trying to process the cost of survival. What these women revealed didn't just support the case against Diddy, they redefined it. Their words weren't allegations. They were stories of power, pain, and long overdue truth. This wasn't just a trial, it was a cultural earthquake. And when the dust started to settle, it wasn't just Sean Combs in the spotlight, it was Hollywood itself. During the early days of jury selection, the court clerk handed over what reporters joked looked like a script for a Hollywood blockbuster. A long, surreal list of A-list celebrities whose names might be referenced or called during trial proceedings. We're talking about Kid Cudi, Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, Michelle Williams, even Kanye West. A surreal mix of musicians, actors, pop icons, all tangled, somehow, in the gravitational pull of Diddy's unraveling empire. Each name sparked murmurs inside and outside the courtroom. These weren't random mentions. They were potential witnesses, exes, friends, or victims. And some had stories. Kid Cudi, the genre-bending rapper once mentored by Kanye, wasn't just name-dropped, he testified. He told the court that in 2011, after a heated fallout over Cassie, who he was allegedly seeing at the time, his car was mysteriously blown up in his driveway. The implication? That Diddy didn't just lose his temper. He may have sent a message with fire. Then there's Michael B. Jordan, one of Hollywood's most bankable actors. Cassie testified that she and Jordan had a brief relationship back in 2015, and that Diddy became uncontrollably jealous, allegedly confronting her and accusing her of betrayal. These weren't just gossip column tidbits. They were woven into the prosecution's case, pieces of a larger mosaic painting Diddy as a man obsessed with power, control, and domination, even over the romantic lives of the women around him. But it wasn't only the celebrity circus making headlines. The jury selection itself became its own drama. One prospective juror was flagged for conflicting residency claims. When questioned, the story didn't hold up. He was dismissed. The defense pushed back hard, not just on that dismissal, but on the pattern. They accused the court of showing bias by being too aggressive with black jurors, hinting at systemic unfairness. But the judge didn't blink. She shut it down fast, stating clearly that no one was being profiled and that the court's integrity would not be questioned. What emerged was a courtroom under siege, not just by the law, but by public opinion, race, fame, and perception. It was no longer about what was provable. It was about what was believable. And with a jury now finalized, a group of strangers suddenly tasked with judging a man the world had once worshipped, the tension hit a boiling point. In a trial already bursting with shockwaves, the most unpredictable twist came in week 6. The moment the world tilted was when Kanye West, or as he now insists, Ye, walked onto the scene. Dressed head to toe in stark white, flanked by bodyguards and Diddy's own son, Kanye didn't just make an entrance, he made a statement. It wasn't about the optics, it was about loyalty, and maybe defiance. He wasn't on the approved list. He wasn't supposed to be there. And yet, the courtroom made space, not inside the chamber, but in the overflow room, where he sat, watching the legal firestorm unfold from just beyond the spotlight. But his presence? Unmistakable. This wasn't just a surprise drop-in. It was part of a growing campaign. Kanye had already been speaking up, urging for Diddy's release, even calling on Donald Trump to intervene. A presidential pardon? For a man facing trafficking and racketeering charges? The public didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or riot. And if that wasn't enough, Kanye launched merch. Not subtle merch. Bold, brash, and aligned with Diddy. Hoodies, tees, slogans. Brothers, they read, as if to say, you can put him on trial, but we're still united. For critics, it was a PR nightmare. For supporters, it was loyalty in action. For everyone else, it was confusion weaponized. Online, the backlash was instant. Reddit exploded within hours of his appearance. Is Kanye trolling us again? He's doing this just just for shock value. Another user wrote, "This man is connected to Diddy through other assault cases. Is he protecting himself?" The theories swirled. Was Kanye showing support or testing public tolerance? Was he making a spiritual gesture or a strategic one? Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. In Hollywood, solidarity often wears a mask. Is it friendship, power preservation, or mutual silence? Kanye didn't speak to the press that day. He didn't answer questions. He didn't need to. His appearance said everything. That in this twisted modern mythology, where icons fall and empires burn, some still choose to stand by the fire. Imagine it. A billionaire hip-hop mogul, a courtroom under siege, cameras flashing like lightning strikes, and a witness list that reads like a red carpet premiere gone off script. This isn't fiction. This is the Hollywood disaster movie playing out in real time. And the lead role? Played by Sean Diddy Combs, a man once untouchable, now on the brink of collapse. At one end, Kid Cudi, testifying about arson. At another, Michael B. Jordan, dragged into the emotional wreckage of jealous rage. And standing just outside the courtroom gates, Kanye West, unpredictable, uninvited, and yet somehow everywhere. It's a fever dream of scandal, power, and celebrity loyalty, all crashing into one another like cars in a fog. But this isn't just about one man on trial. This is a referendum on power, on how long the machine of fame can protect the people inside it, and what happens when the mask finally cracks. We're watching a legend unravel, piece by piece. His reputation under siege, his businesses paused, bled dry, or quietly cut loose, his inner circle shrinking or turning silent, and most of all, his legacy, that once gleaming crown of platinum albums and power suits, now drenched in scandal. But this isn't just Diddy's reckoning. It's a pulse check on the entire industry, on what we ignored, who we enabled, and how long the world was willing to look away. The Me Too movement shook Hollywood film, but the music industry? It's only beginning to catch up. The Diddy trial has become a mirror, and everyone, from record executives to fans, from radio stations to stylists, is suddenly staring into it. What happens next? Will justice be served? Will the system hold a titan accountable? Or will this too be buried beneath NDAS, merch drops, and fading headlines? We don't know the ending yet, but we know this. The story has changed, the pedestal has cracked, and the spotlight is no longer safe. This isn't just about Diddy, and it's not just about Kanye. This is about something bigger, deeper, and far more dangerous than celebrity scandal. What we're witnessing is the intersection of power and silence. A place where wealth can obscure guilt, where fame can delay accountability, and where the systems built to protect victims often protect predators instead. It's easy to reduce this to gossip, to memes, to social media threads. But when women step forward, risking their privacy, their safety, and their peace, they're not doing it for clicks. They're doing it because they were erased for years, and this moment might be the only time they're finally heard. Diddy's facing life behind bars. That's not just a sentence. That's a seismic shift, a signal that maybe, finally, the rules are starting to apply up the ladder, not just down it. And then there's Kanye. His appearance wasn't just controversial, it was symbolic. Symbolic of a world where celebrity friendships can cloud morality, where public loyalty can feel like gaslighting survivors in real time, where a hoodie drop can blur the lines between ally and accomplice. So we ask, do fame and fortune still protect the powerful? Are certain people simply above consequence? And how many victims remain silent because they fear nothing will ever change? This case has become more than headlines. It's become a mirror, one held up to the music industry, to Hollywood, to all of us. What we see in that mirror, the ugliness, the truth, the potential for change, that's what matters most. Because this moment, it's not the end of a celebrity's story. It might just be the beginning of ours. We've heard the storm of allegations. We've seen the prosecution bring Hollywood to its knees. But next, the defense takes the stage. Will they paint Diddy as a misunderstood mogul, a victim of fame, not a predator of power? Or will their rebuttal crumble beneath the weight of testimony and truth? We're about to dissect their playbook, the strategy, the spin, and the surprise witnesses they might unleash. Can they salvage what's left of an empire that once ruled music, fashion, and nightlife? Or is this the final act of a cultural collapse? This isn't over, not by a long shot. In the next episode, the defense speaks, the witnesses change tone, and we ask, how far will they go to protect the man behind the myth? So don't just watch, stay locked in. Smash that like, tap subscribe, and hit the bell icon like it owes you money. Because if you miss the next drop, Kanye might Photoshop your face onto the courtroom sketch artist, and trust us, it won't be flattering.